Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the sound bites. Joining me today as co-host is Guy Page. Guy, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks,
We'll be
Pat.
seeing a lot of Guy in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. And today we have a subject that's about personal stories of racism in Vermont. And I've got two special guests who have been kind enough to come here to talk about their experiences here with racism in Vermont. And I need to read you a little introduction here. And this is no way intended to be the definitive answer to the question of is there racism in Vermont. It is just the individual citizens of our state. And I plan to have many other individuals who have experienced some form of racism to come talk to us. Individuals who would like to participate can contact me at voteforvermont@gmail.com. And I believe, we all believe, Campaign for Vermont, Vote for Vermont believes this is a very important discussion to have, and I have purposely invited people on the street, the man in the street, to hear the stories of what they've experienced just living as a couple, as an individual here in Vermont. So with that, I welcome Erica Reddick and her husband Benjamin. You have quite Benjamin Nathan Reddick II.
Benjamin Nathaniel Reddick.
Nathaniel, thank you. Oh, I have to change that.
And technically, we all are also Lord and Lady Reddick.
Oh,
technically.
please tell us about that. What is that about?
Really?
$49.95. You can only apply in.
Oh,
1 square foot.
I see. I love any seconds, thirds. I love all that. I love it. It's so cool. And the
Yep.
second.
The junior, that's cool. But
Yes, cool.
second is much better.
Is it
Yeah.
better?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's cool. I'll take your word for it. I'm just Pat McDonald. What do I know? Anyway, you two can, Erica's been on our show before. She's running as a candidate for the Senate in Chittenden County. And obviously Benjamin is her husband. So I'd like you both to introduce yourselves again to our visitors. And you spoke a lot about Benjamin in the last show, so.
Yes, my husband, whom I call Saint Benjamin. I love him so much. No, in all seriousness, I really do. He is very much a compliment to me. When people say opposites attract, I mean, we're not really that opposite, but our character qualities are opposite. And I'm very high strung, I'm very passionate, I get mad, and he is very chill, very level. So it helps me a lot when in politics and things like that. I'll call him up and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so mad about whatever. And he's like, well, is that reasonable? Are you sure you should be mad about that? Where have you done the same thing to people? And I'm like, no, I'd rather just hold on to my resentment. Stop being reasonable.
Well, that was a tough act to follow. Good luck, Benjamin.
Okay, so Benjamin Reddick. I am a videographer, filmmaker, business owner, stuntman, landlord. That's pretty
great.
much it.
I think I told you, we have a guy that worked here that went out to LA to be a stuntman, and he's got his own rock band, and he's coming to Vermont very soon, and we're all I said I'm going to be the oldest one in the audience cheering him on.
Yeah,
Nice.
Good
he
for
needs the
you.
support.
Excellent.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
yeah.
Being a stuntman is not easy.
No, you got to be in some serious shape.
It's just it's a lot of competition.
Oh, really?
A lot of competition, constantly training.
Oh, interesting.
Because there's also stuff people don't think about is you can't stunt double for someone unless you look like them.
Right.
Close.
So you have to be
Body
like
style and-
approximation, skin color,
Right.
skin tone, all of that stuff. And so a lot of times people will say, oh, Mino doesn't do, stunts in Vermont. And I was like, are they shooting action films in Vermont with a dark-skinned lead?
Right.
I don't, probably not.
Maybe not.
Who do you stunt double for?
I can't say right now.
Yeah, because it would look bad.
There's people who are around 6'1", 6'2", in the 180-ish range. I can
He'd
pull
have to
off.
kill you
Wow.
because they don't want people to know that you have a double, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on the Western right now, so
Oh,
when I fly back, hopefully I'll be doing that. That's around September 15th. Should be cool.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a lot of traveling. Is this in LA and then back to Texas?
That's
and back
actually
here?
in Texas.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that's actually in
so
Texas.
Western. I guess that's where you shoot.
More people are coming from LA to Texas just because people don't like LA,
Right.
but also because of COVID shutting so much stuff down. work has picked up tremendously. in
Oh,
Texas.
excellent. Well, there's some benefit here to
Yeah.
Great.
COVID. Great.
Yeah.
Good. So, we wanted to talk about your experience with racism, and I really appreciate you both coming on. And I was hoping that we could talk about it from childhood to today. And I'm going to just give you the floor and let you jump in, and then we'll butt in every so often when you
Okay.
say something we'd like to follow up on.
I can be pretty succinct on that. I came up military brat, so I spent a lot of my time on military bases, which are relatively diverse.
Right.
So I've had incidences, like when I lived in New York for a year, upstate New York, Country Park, where I went to an all-white school. So that the town is like divided in Auburn at the time. There's a black side primarily and a white side of town. And my grandmother had a house on the white side of town.
Whoa.
So I went to the white school. So it was me, and the only other girl of color in my school that was black was, she was half and half, and it was my cousin.
Okay.
So we were the only two ones in the school. So, I mean, there were people who probably had opinions about that, and there were incidences in classrooms of little kids being smart mouth or doing little things like hiding your book or whatever. Was it necessarily racism? That would be hard to say. I did look different than them, so it could have just been that. That's not I don't know if I can necessarily say I was being discriminated against because of it.
Well, and if it's kids, I mean, kids are rotten to each other.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, they look for the things that you're most sensitive about
Yeah.
or most vulnerable.
That's
Yep,
not that
exactly.
different from adults, to
Yeah,
be
no,
honest with you.
Exactly, you're probably right.
So that, I mean, as a kid, I didn't really face a lot of incidences where I could say, man, I really felt like that man did that to me because I was black. Except for once, my father passed away of cancer when I was 6 years old.
Oh,
So my parents were doing military. He was at home, and I used to come home from school in first grade, and I would go home, and my dad was there by himself until my mom got off from work. And so I would feed him his medications on the schedule, which is interesting because there's a lot of those. I got locked out. So I went to a neighbor's house, knocking on his door in a panic, and we lived in Connecticut, and the military housing is right next to residential.
resident, right?
Wealthy home, adult white male, opened the door, and I knocked on his door asking him for help. He just shut the door in my face.
Whoa.
Yeah, my mom was hot.
Yeah,
She got home and that man got cussed out.
good for her,
Because I mean, it was a child asking you for help,
right?
and you slammed the door in his face. Now, I don't know why. Could have been racism. I don't know why. So I can't say it, but that did happen.
Chances are.
Chances are it's probably
But,
something along those
yeah.
lines. I had some incidences with cops when in my teenage years. I stayed out of trouble. My friends were good, so we didn't have a lot of run-ins, but I do remember getting pulled over and having a white girlfriend at the time. This is before I met my lovely Erica. And she's in the seat.
She'll forgive you.
Exactly. She's in the
One time.
One time is the one girl I met before. There's no others, ever. And she's sitting in the seat, and there's 5 of us black guys in the car, and she's in the middle, and we get pulled over by the cops. And I do distinctly remember the cop leaning into the car, addressing only her and saying, "Are you okay, ma'am?" And I was like, huh, that was weird.
Right.
Or being pulled. I've been pulled over because we fit a description. My friend happened to have a warrant for his arrest and go to jail, but there's been a robbery in the area and the car looks like this. And I was like, I don't remember seeing anything about a robbery in this
Right.
area, sir. And so I've had a couple of run-ins in my younger, like late teens, early 20s, where I said that probably was an issue of race. Very rarely have I had anybody call me any special names to my face.
Right.
But that might be because I look like I'll probably,
You take care of yourself.
things could elevate.
Yeah,
So
right.
that might be the reason why I haven't run into a lot of those issues. So I couldn't really say.
So when did you come to Vermont? After you married the lovely
After-
Erica?
Yes, she came to Texas,
Yeah.
and then she kept talking about how beautiful Vermont was and how lovely the land is, and oh my God, we have rivers, and oh my God, you guys don't have trees in Central Texas.
You've got the lake and all
All
the
true.
beauty on the
That's
other side, right?
Yes, there are no natural bodies of water in Texas. There's no natural lakes.
Right.
Okay, so there's the ocean and there's a river. That's it. It doesn't even flow to the ocean anymore because the city. Anyway, that's another thing.
She's got a lot.
It's another
of
story.
emotions, a
They
lot
have
of emotions.
water
So
towers
when you
in
came to
Texas.
Vermont, did you experience anything?
Personally, from the thing, I never had anyone
Right,
do anything
right.
to me or say anything weird. And occasionally we'll
Well-
get weird looks
Yeah.
from people. And I'll be honest, I also I wear interesting clothing sometimes. Like I have these beads I wear, and it draws attention. So I've had people who seemed overly solicitous to me. There's people who don't like her, especially in politics, who don't like her.
Shocking.
I know.
Conservative.
I
What's,
know.
what's not
I
to
know.
like?
She's got a strong personality. There's people who don't like her, saw me and just all, oh my God, oh my, look at those beads. And they're like really close and touching me. And it's like, well, you
Like,
don't
why
like
are
my
you touching
wife.
my
It's just-
husband?
So it's weird. So it might have been, that might have been like the reverse.
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm going to be nice and because he's black. I don't know. So I
Well,
have
and I would say nobody has maybe said anything directly to you that is racist in that way,
I got you. I see where you're going.
but there have been people who have said, like as an example, so we're both pretty outspoken about the race issue. We talk about it on our social media, we share with people where we stand, and of course I get crap as a white person. Oh, you're not allowed to say that because you're white. And I'm like, do you not think that where I stand or my stance on this is affected by the fact that I'm married to a black man?
Yes.
You think I'm just over here being a white supremacist all by myself, married to a black man somehow? Like,
Exactly.
Right.
I don't.
She gets called a racist. And I'm like, that's weird. That's
And
weird
then-
that you would.
And then they'll
Marry
say to
me.
him,
Strange.
like, if he doesn't, like, as an example, we are not in agreement with Robin DiAngelo, who wrote White Fragility. We are not in agreement with her
I thought that was
assessment.
the Bible of. I've been told to read that.
So we are not in agreement with her assessment of black people. And if you say that, if he says that, he's internalized the white supremacy.
Or I'm a racist.
Oh.
So he's not
I've been called
Uncle
a-
somebody or other.
I've been
right?
called
Yeah.
a racist,
Yeah.
Uncle Tom, but I've been also called a racist,
Yeah.
like a flat out racist. It's interesting. It's very special times.
Well, I gave you guys a little story. When I first moved up here in the 90s, I had a very dear friend, and she was divorced and she had a daughter, and I was begging her to come up and visit, and she was black, and she was afraid to come up to the whitest state because she didn't want to put her daughter in any situation that
Got
she'd
it.
have to explain. So I was working for the Merchants Bank at the time, and there was a great black woman that was working there, and I asked her, what'll happen? And she said, this was back in 1990 or 89 maybe. And she said, nothing. She said, they'll stare at you because they're curious, but nothing will happen. And I talked her into coming up. We had the best weekend ever. Their daughter loved it. She wanted to come back. She didn't want to go home. But I think things have changed dramatically since then.
Right.
Have they not? I mean, look where we are. I don't even want to list all this stuff.
I don't.
Well-
I don't think it's necessarily things are legitimately so different. Like we're not more racist than we were before. People are talking about it a lot more, which brings
probably
up an
good,
issue. It's
right.
like if you're. This is probably a terrible example. If you're a woman and you're being abused by your husband and you just take the abuse, well, that's the status quo. The moment you start talking about some issues, it's going to rile some things up. So I don't think that it's more racism that's happening right now. It's we're zeroing in on it. And social media, I don't think people are designed to handle social media well. I should not be able to see a man get shot on Facebook. I should not be able to see 3 or 4 deaths a day.
Right.
Nope.
And then everyone in the media does no research, and then the first thing you tell me over and over again, it's because he was black. This does not happen to these people. And here's the thing: it could have been racism, but the
Right.
problem is that you told me before you did any
Right.
journalism or research.
You don't know what led up to
And
it.
everything,
Yeah, I
everything
agree
is
with
now
you.
attributed to
All
racism.
of
it. Right.
Everything.
Right.
There is a legal term called Hanlon's razor, and it means don't attribute to malice that which you can attribute to stupidity.
I love it.
and
I have to use that.
Because this idea that anytime anything happens or goes wrong, somebody has a malicious intent against you personally. it is such a self-centered way
Right.
of dealing with life. And this idea that that the only reason a person could dislike you is because of the color of your skin.
It's a strong
It's like, maybe you're just a jerk. Maybe you just don't know how to act right. Maybe that person is having a bad day. Maybe their mom just died. Maybe their kid's in the hospital.
Right.
Why would you automatically assume that every experience of your life has to do with your skin color? People will say, oh, well, you don't understand because you're white.
Yes.
You're white, and you wouldn't understand that. And I'm like, well, no, but I'm a woman. And you've been trying to convince me that I should see everything through my genitalia,
Right.
that everything is related to my genitalia. So what's the difference?
Right.
You can't know. You don't
The
know.
reverse of that is if I don't like you, it's because I don't like you, not because you're black. And that you're called racist because I may not like you.
Exactly.
I do like you, but I may not.
Thank you.
And
I like you
but
too.
right.
But when you say you can't know, what do you, I don't know what that's like. I mean, how do you deal with that? The fact that it might be race related or it might not be. I mean, how do you?
I deal with it like everything else. Here's the thing. I don't know if the guy outside that we saw playing with kids, I don't know if he's a pedophile.
Huh.
I don't know anything. I don't know who's you seen a lot of the mass shooters lately? I live in Texas, there's a lot of guns. I don't know if one of those guys is going to be a mass shooter.
Okay.
Right.
I give people the benefit of the doubt. I take reasonable precautions. Right. I'm very aware. Like, we went to West Texas on our anniversary, and in West Texas is where, like, there's been some legit issues. Like, there was like a black gentleman who got dragged behind a truck.
Oh
Yes,
God, I
yes.
remember
I
that.
remember.
So
Yeah.
so that's all I know of West Texas. I've never been to West Texas. And so people are like, oh man, you got to be careful. Oh man, you got to be careful. And so we go out there. You know, I normally have a knife on me because this is on my keychain. So I'm like, all right, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to not live my life because someone might be
Right.
an idiot out here. So we go, have a wonderful time. See cops, see all kinds of people. No one says anything weird. Here's the thing. I can't prove this. There are plenty of people who are prejudiced. I know people who are prejudiced. That comes in every shape, size, and color.
Everywhere.
I
For
know
anything.
I know tremendously prejudiced black people and Hispanic people. I know plenty of prejudiced Asian individuals who do not feel particular about black people or other races or other ethnicities and colors. We're one race. You can't know. But the other thing is, if you put out an energy, if I walk into a room and I assume you don't like me because I'm black and you're white and you're probably a racist, and Pat's probably a white supremacist, obviously, because she's got a business, she's on television. Well, how do you think I start to act and present? I'm on guard, I'm defensive. You think people don't feel that? They can't see that maybe
Right.
he's
Make my
closed
day.
off?
Right.
And so I don't move that way. I don't live my life from a perspective of fear. I'm aware a lot of people out here in humanity are trash, and they exist, and we can't do a whole lot about a lot of those people. Most people aren't. And so I just go with that, and I'm ready for the worst.
Well, and what is the point of living your life as if everyone is out to get you?
Right.
Who does that benefit?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Right, but every day, right? We live in I'm referring it back to women because this is especially where I can relate to it. But it's very similar, right? Black people are told that they're being hunted every day, and women are told that we have a rape culture. And now, young teenage girls have a high rate of suicide and anxiety and all this stuff that we didn't have. And it's like, well, of course, you tell them everybody's trying to rape them wherever they go.
Right.
That they can't make it, that it's a man's world and we're gonna be kept down and whatever. And it's like, okay, let's assume that that's true. Let's assume black people really do need to be nervous when they leave the house every day. Is the appropriate answer then to just be afraid and to scream and tell the people that I believe are my oppressor that they need to then save me from their oppression?
There's not a lot of power in that stance. And of course I'm going to feel helpless because you've told me I'm helpless and I'm agreeing that I'm helpless. And everybody's telling me. So a lot of the reactions that you're seeing now make perfectly good sense. If you look at how you've conditioned people to believe that they can do nothing, that because I'm black, I can't be successful. Okay, well, what do you think young people are going to do in the inner city where they don't have job prospects? What else would you do if you were hopeless? Like, you're just going to give in to the pressures of the world, and that typically doesn't go well. And so I think a lot of the rhetoric is dangerous and unhelpful. And more importantly, it's not really realistic. Things are already difficult enough if you deal with realism. Why do you have to make it worse than it is?
Right,
And we talked about this in the car. I hear black bodies being hunted all the time. Let me understand this correctly. All these interactions with cops. We had 10 unarmed shootings. Black people get killed.
9
20
last year.
white people, I think, was last year. If that's cops actively hunting people down, they're terrible hunters. Here's the thing. And if I believe that, and even if I do believe that, all our responses are wrong. You should be trying to get land to start your own city so black people could be protected from all these crazy people that you say are out hunting us. I wouldn't be out here unarmed. I'd have an AR strapped to my back. I'd have body armor on. This could have
All
been
the time.
There's all these white people. This could be an ambush. So I'm making a joke, but at the same time, I'm trying to be serious. That wording matters. Right. So when you tell people they're being hunted, what kind of emotions are you generated? Right. And we don't believe it, not really, because if we did, we would be acting very differently than the predominant black people act in America.
Wow.
Well,
interesting.
And I just want to tell them about your experience being armed in public with police.
Okay. I've had a couple of run-ins with cops because of my job.
So he is a filmmaker, right? And he's a stunt man, fight choreographer. That means he's out in public sometimes with knives, guns, weapons, machetes, swords.
So I've had at least, I don't know if I should even admit this. I've had at least 5, I think, run-ins with weapons with cops. First time, we just didn't know the rules. I had just got to Austin. We were at a park. I had a camera set up. I thought it would be fine. People got nervous. There were prop guns. Cops came over, like, okay, cool, you can have that. We had a little baton that you can't legally carry. They confiscated the baton.
Interesting.
Sent me on my way. Nobody pulled a gun.
So nobody got shot?
Nobody.
Nobody died?
Yep. Yeah, everybody was breathing. Nobody got shot. It was fantastic.
Doesn't fit the rhetoric, does it?
At all. And so when I talk to people about these incidences, I'm just like, well, I'm living proof that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
It happens sometimes. Doesn't happen all the time.
Unfortunately, tragically,
Absolutely.
obviously.
But not all the time. So if it's not all the time, we got to talk about it like it's not all the time. And so that happened. I remember we had a permit, but we were near a playground. We didn't think about how our staging area was set up.
Right.
And we're all tacked out. Like, it's like black gear and pads
Oh, you
and
must
like
have scared
ARs.
the kids to
Oh my
death.
God. And no, the kids probably loved it. The parents are probably scared.
True.
And so the kids play Call of Duty. They were fun. And so, so the cops get called. They show up, ask to see the permit, check the permit, come back. They take photos of me and my crew.
Oh, cool.
Half of us are ethnic. I was in South Texas shooting a music video. We had open carry, two black men, open carry, shooting a video with a Mexican male downtown, whole crew ethnic, in front of a bank. But they have open carry. They had the licenses. The bank selling guns. Call the cops, right? Should have cleared that. Call the cops. Cops show up.
Understandably.
Reasonably, listen,
Yeah.
they should have called the cops.
Yeah.
Cops show up, step up to us, no hands on guns, talk to us, hey, what's going on? Talk to us like normal people.
Nice.
Hey, how you doing? We're not mean mugging the cops. We're none of that. Address them, go talk to them, have a conversation, like, all right, cool, you're good to go. They go tell people in the bank, leave, we finish our video shoot.
Good job.
So I've had 3, 4, 5 different interactions with cops with weapons, and I've never been, they never drew a gun on me, they never targeted me, they never did any of that. And I'm not saying that to minimize when it happens or to say that it doesn't happen, but to tell black men that this is what you should expect. And I do believe that your expectations put vibrations out, you're speaking into existence, you set up scenarios. If that's where your mentality is, you will have more of those interactions.
Right.
I haven't had a lot because I don't expect that. And if it does happen, we'll handle it.
But I think a lot of it is credit to you. You probably have a good body language. I mean, you're not
Exactly.
trying to look like you're running away or anything. You
No.
just walk to them like they're men and law enforcement officers and to be respected, and there you go.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's another part. We talk about the talk in the black community. You know, when I sat down, I talked about to my kids about what to do when they see a cop. People often talk about that
right,
topic,
right.
right? Cool. Do you talk about body language? I remember meeting a cop in my younger years. Two of my friends got into a fist fight at a place in Austin. We're sitting out. I mean, they're duking it out. We're like, okay, I'm trying to tell them to stop. They don't want to listen. So the people call the cops. We're in a park, Barton Springs. Cop shows up. They're checking our car. They're doing all this stuff because they don't know what's going on. I'm talking to a black cop. I do martial arts. The way I'm standing, I think I have my arms crossed, legs wide. He said, we're talking back and forth. He says, you do martial arts, don't you? And people tell me that you stand in the warrior stance. And I was like, I don't know what that means. He says, the way you're standing to other cops, they might see it as aggressive. He says, but I can tell you probably do martial arts. He said, yeah, just so you know, these are things, signals and hints that these cops are looking for in your body language.
Interesting.
And so, and I've done light law enforcement. I was a federal guard on Fort Hood. We were armed, no safety on that pistol, body armor, the whole nine. During like when Hassan did the
Right,
tech,
exactly.
I was getting off work when that happened.
Wow.
So I've been on base and I'm watching people's eyes. I'm watching your body language. Are you being shifty? We don't talk about that part. You can make people on edge. And that's not a talk for just black people. That's a talk for anybody dealing with law enforcement and individuals who have guns who can mess up your life.
What parent doesn't have the talk with their kids about interacting with police? I remember my parents, when I started driving, here is what the expectation is. Here is what you need to know. Don't go reaching for your glove box suddenly. You need to whatever. If you have something in the car, you tell them what it is. You leave your hands on the wheel. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. You respect them.
My husband got stopped for going a little fast. And he's a retired trooper, captain from the state police. And the patrolman pulled up, and he was talking, and Bruce was doing the yes, sir, no, sir. And I was sitting there going, and I thought, wow, he knows. Because the guy doesn't know him. He's a young cop. He doesn't know Bruce from a hole in the ground. And Bruce was doing keeping his hand on the 9 and 2. And I thought afterwards, he let us go, obviously, because, and I said, wow, Bruce. And he goes, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, and this is the thing. So when you're raised with a healthy respect for authority, like as a military person, my family was military too, it is not to say that we have to give respect to people who do not deserve it. No. But until you behave in such a way so for me to not respect you back,
right?
It's particularly if I've done something wrong. Okay? If I've been caught speeding or doing something illegal, and then I turn into the jerk to the cop.
Nice.
I was doing something wrong.
Right, I'm sorry.
You know, and so what does being a jerk to the police officer accomplish?
Is you're less likely to get what you want. And I was always taught, am I here to fight the injustices of all the people who've had issues with cops, or to get home?
There you go.
We can file the report later. Get home.
Yep.
Like, that's my job. Get home to my wife. That's my job. Not to argue with this man who may have authority, or this woman. They're a policewoman, and some of them are jerks. And some cops do power trip, and they're idiots. And
Obviously.
I've met those cops.
Obviously.
I had a friend coming out of a bar one time. He's a military vet. He has narcolepsy. Bars closed down. He went to sleep in the bar, so they kicked him out. So he's arguing with the bartender. He's like, I wasn't drunk. And he's arguing. We go, we see, man, it's a bad situation. We start pulling him down the street, trying to walk him to his car. While we're doing that, a Hispanic cop comes up. This is APD Austin. Hispanic cop comes up and he starts talking smack. He starts talking about, yeah, whatever. I don't care if he served. He's doing all of these things to antagonize this man.
Yep.
To a point where I don't really swear that often. I start cussing the cop out. I'm like, we are 100 feet from the door of the bar. Right. We're making progress. You are literally not doing your job.
Yep.
So there are absolute jerk-face cops out there, but don't give them any excuse.
No, because that's what they're looking for, right?
Some people are pushing because they think everyone's a criminal, and I've worked with guys like that. They're trying to jostle you to get something so they can, see, I knew it. don't give them that. Be nice, smile, thank them for the ticket.
Right.
So thank you for doing your job, so I appreciate y'all for protecting us. Go on about your business. File a
Yep.
report later.
Yeah, scream later, right?
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
wow, that's interesting.
Well, I'm really curious. In Burlington right now, there's, I guess last I heard, 800 people or whatever, and doing nightly protests. There's an
Yeah.
encampment in Battery Park. A lot of concern about the city cops using, some of them, excessive brutality, they say. And, I mean, what do you make, you live in Burlington, you're a interracial couple. What do you make of the whole BLM protest in Burlington?
That's a
It's another
That's
show.
a big question. I'll let you start with that one.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
I want to first say, and I think it's ridiculous that we have to preface everything that we say. Obviously, we agree with the sentiment that Black Lives Matter.
And I think most of us do.
Unless you are a
sure.
legit racist,
Yeah.
and then we're not on the same team,
Right.
okay? But Black Lives Matter, the organization, I do not agree with their ideology. I do not agree with what they espouse. I do not agree with what they're trying to push for. One of the things on their website is dismantling the nuclear family as the norm.
Yeah, something
Dismantling the norm of the nuclear
Husband,
family or
wife,
whatever.
children,
And-
2.5.
And so here is my question for anyone who cares about Black lives. If we know that the number one statistic that will decide whether or not you end up in jail, a drug addict, a run-in with the police, fill in the blank,
Right.
the number one thing that we know causes that or correlates to that is a fatherless home.
Right.
And Black Americans, 75% grow up in a fatherless home. And so why would any organization that purports to claim that they care about Black lives try to dismantle the family, which is the one thing that could actually prevent unfortunate run-ins with the police?
Does it give those families, I don't know, credibility? I mean, does it sanction the single-parent home so they don't feel as bad or as guilty or whatever? I don't know how to rephrase this, but
And
you know,
that's
I mean,
and that
they
is
must be
something
doing it for some reason.
I don't know.
they do. I think they believe because they are proclaimed Marxists, and I
Right.
know we're not allowed to talk about this, but they say that. And one of the tenets of Marxism is that everyone collectively
Is the family.
family,
Ah,
right?
that
and
makes
so
more sense.
so we don't want people to feel bad about whatever
Right.
circumstances they're in. So we're going to collectively
Okay.
raise your children.
I like that answer better than mine. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
We'll
also
go with yours.
well, it's also one of the reasons why they believe they can raise your children better than
Right,
you.
right.
Why they charge you 10 cents for the bag, right? So we know better collectively
Right.
how to live,
Right.
and we can raise your children better than you can
Takes a
as
community,
fan.
right? Didn't we hear that
Yes.
phrase a while
it-
back?
And that's true.
It doesn't mean that.
No,
Not
I know
that.
it didn't.
Not in that way.
No.
So here's the thing: you have a dad. He should be involved. And I don't know what else to say. Like it is better for him to be involved.
Right.
If the issue is that the fathers that you have are not good enough, then the women need to maybe not deal with some of those guys.
Right, 'cause
We
you
need
don't
be like,
wanna
he's-
grow up in
he's
a
a
home.
dirtbag.
Another-
Don't have babies with him
Yeah.
because you're going to be endangering your potential offspring.
Right.
Like I don't know how
And you know what has nothing to do with that? Defunding the police.
I don't know how
Oh,
that
I don't get
interacts.
that
Does
at all.
work?
Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, you guys proclaim to care about Black lives, but you're not actually doing anything that is making Black lives better.
Right.
And I've asked repeatedly to the protesters, like at the Vermont Support Law Enforcement event and things like that, I have asked them. I go on Max Tracy's page and I say, if you can provide me evidence that any Black life has been made better with your behavior, I will come down and I will protest with you.
Well, the thing that needs to happen is that no matter people should protest, they should be engaged. So let's,
Right.
two sides of this.
Yes.
I'm glad people are paying
Absolutely.
attention to politics.
Yes.
First and foremost, yes,
For
you need to be
sure.
paying attention, making sure your people are doing what you want them to do. Half of the reason we're in the problem we're in right now is because people do not pay attention to politics. We treat politics and our government and our America the way people treat their kids. You go make money, you pay your taxes to the school, you hand your kids off to the school does whatever the school does, you get them back, you're happy or sad, you're probably not on the PTA, you're going to complain about what's going on,
Right.
you're not engaged in the process at all,
Yep.
and it doesn't go to your liking. And then you complain on the internet about how terrible everything is. I'm a little heated now because I spend a lot of time talking to people
Get
who
involved.
do not care
Right.
enough to do anything, but care enough to comment on Facebook.
Oh.
I can post positive things on Facebook. People will show up on the Facebook post and argue the semantics. And,
Yeah,
well, this
yeah.
is clearly right-leaning. I don't care what side it leans on. I work with a group called Catalyst Collective. We work with at-risk youth. We go into juvenile detention centers. We work with those kids because I think that one of the issues that if you don't have a dad in the home, you have a jacked up home life, both parents are there, you need a mentor.
Right.
Yep.
You know who mentors kids? It's not the state or the school or the guidance counselor. It's other human beings in your community. So if you are not engaged with kids and you're not out there,
Right,
I
good
really
for
don't
you.
care what you have to say about the
Right.
school system because you are not fixing the problem. You're not voting for people who have the right
You're not
policies
paying
and
attention
ideas.
to who's deciding these
And
things.
you're not willing to get directly involved on a social level to help the kids. Do you go talk to the kids in your neighborhood and see
Nope.
what do they need? It's not that
Volunteer
hard.
at the Boys and
I
Girls
agree.
Club.
So
at-
I was so involved my whole life, but you feel good about it because if you even just reach
You've
one
done
kid,
something.
no
Yeah.
kidding.
What's
I
the
mean,
name of that
I love
group?
it.
What's the name of that group?
Catalyst Collective is the one I work a lot with.
In
It's
Austin.
in Austin. It's online though. We do things online. There's another one, Impact with no T, Outreach. They're in Killeen. They work with a lot of at-risk youth, and they have programs that work, which is why we work with judges. And some of them mandate the kids to go through some of our programs
Right.
Right,
because
right.
our thing is about helping them find their identity and attaching their identity to a goal or purpose or drive, and something that will be a mission statement that will affect your community, making you a community catalyst.
Because what's happening
Wow.
now, and you and I were at that State House event, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I am a person who is known in the State House when I was serving to listen, to compromise, to pay attention. I'm afraid. And I don't know what their message is other than the signs and the screaming, and I don't even know half those words they
They
called
don't
me.
know what their message is.
Look
Pat,
it up.
They don't know what their
What
message
do we
is
need?
either.
What do we? Vermont is different from Austin, is different from Chicago, is different from Baltimore. What do disenfranchised community in Vermont need? Give me the 10-point plan so we can take it to government
Right,
and
and
talk
talk
about
about it.
how feasible any of these things
Right.
are. Everybody's on board.
Right.
Everyone should be on board, and any politician who's not on board with that is probably trash, and you should be voting to get them
Right,
out of
Matt,
here.
right.
So come up with a 10-point plan, find the areas of agreement, things that can be done in the community, need to be done in the community because it is important that people have agency. Part of the reason is pride. If you don't have pride in yourself, if I don't have pride in my race, because my entire narrative from day one has been racism and slavery and how people oppress me and I can't make it.
And you're
if that's all
inferior.
you tell me, how do you think I'm going to react?
Right.
So you have to partner with them, these people, and say, hey, what do you need? Okay, how much of that can you affect? You need to get started on your part. We're going to do the rest in the State House. We're going to do what we can do to get started on our side. And then you need to monitor us to make sure we're doing what's necessary to support what you need. If the communities are doing what's necessary with these mentorship programs, et cetera, you could go to the State House and say, look at the stats. Look at how we've raised graduation rates in our area. Look at how many of our young youth have gone to school and graduated. How about you fund us on the programs that we're doing that already work and help us do this on a better,
Good
on
for
a
you.
grander scale?
And for the legislature, I say.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
Could this happen in Vermont?
It could happen everywhere.
It could happen
can.
anywhere. That's the thing. This is the
Everywhere.
thing. You just have to change the conversation. So the whole conversation right now is still black people are inferior, black people are unable to take care of themselves, and they need their white saviors to do anything.
Yes.
That's what's so infuriating about the whole white fragility thing and
Yes.
all that other stuff and all these really well-meaning
I think they have the
people,
best of intentions.
all these really well-meaning white liberals are talking about how they're, whatever. you don't need to do implicit bias training. You just need to get off your behind and go
Well,
do
exactly.
something.
Find out how these people vote.
It doesn't. You can sit there all. This is the problem, as I see it, and this is one of the reasons why I'm a small government conservative. There is no government agency, and you cannot tax people enough to change the hearts of people. Okay, you cannot do that.
Facts.
But what you can do is wash your hands of any responsibility for it.
Right.
So you know what? Look, I really care about black people. You know what? I really care about black people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise your taxes, and I'm going to create a bureaucratic structure
Right, let's study
that
it.
supposedly is going to do something.
Right.
That doesn't do anything
Yeah.
but give a six-figure salary
Exactly.
to a government bureaucrat.
Right.
Some random.
So I talk all the time. I talk about this.
And I'm going to paint Black Lives Matter on the
On
street
the
because
street,
that's going to
right, and
improve
that's
the
gonna
quality
help.
of life.
Yes.
And I can see it's in some ways it's an
feels
important
good.
statement and it's consciousness raising, but
critical.
how does it? What is being
What's
done
next?
to actually improve the lives of Black
Because-
people?
This is the
wait,
thing.
Because all lives matter, that has to mean that Black lives matter.
Right.
We are not in disagreement. The only people in disagreement, those two statements, actually, you should never say one in the face of the other unless the person's being racist. Outside of that, those two statements do not contradict at all.
No,
they go
but
together.
I can
Right.
understand. This is how I look at it. Black Lives Matter. They feel it's their turn
Yes.
to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And I think once they feel like they're seen and heard, they will be very comfortable with all lives matter because
No.
you don't agree.
Oh my God, no. First of all,
Okay.
okay, so first of all, Black Lives Matter only cares about
Black lives.
that were killed by cops. That's
Oh.
all they care about. Okay? They don't care about
That's the
him,
organization.
Right.
the organization, and they'll tell you that they only are concerned about black people who have been killed by cops.
Don Lemon talked about it with Terry Crews on his show.
Really?
And
Oh,
they had a
yes,
whole
that's why
exchange.
they
This
can
upsets me. I
justify
didn't view it that
Yes.
way.
this is why they can justify cussing out black police officers as being part of the problem. That's why they can say Benjamin has internalized his white supremacy and just doesn't understand his oppression. Hold on.
Okay, I got
So
She's on a roll.
So when your message is just as ugly as what you claim to be fighting against, you know that these people have no idea what their actual agenda is, okay? So if I'm an actual racist, somebody's going to cut this up and
Yep.
use it. If I'm an actual white supremacist and I say, black people suck and I hate black people, or whatever, black people are terrible, black people, whatever, and I'm a Black Lives Matter protester and I say all cops are bastards, die pig, and things like that, differentiate for me those two messages. Black people suck, all cops are pigs. Differentiate that message for me.
Just about hate.
Exactly. So you're trying to fight hate with hate?
So Black Lives Matter, the group itself doesn't have a real mission to help and to move Black lives
Be
forward.
very careful with this one.
No, because that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
The
I'm
thing-
thinking that the other people have taken over
It
that.
is not. There's the one you can read with the parameters on the website
Right.
blacklivesmatter.com.
The actual
Right.
And then
organization.
you have
Okay.
the average person
Right.
who has a different perspective. If
Okay.
you look at
Exactly.
what they have on their website, most of that would not have helped a male straight raising a regular household. There's not much of what they're talking about that would have helped me excel further. So, I mean, I'm not saying that everything they have on their site is not useful. Yeah, we should be fighting about black people getting shot by
Obviously.
cops.
Yeah.
There
We
are
should be
black
fighting
people.
about. We should be fighting about people getting shot by cops. But I want to make one thing clear about what she said about what this argument, this energy has brought up. I would never have imagined I would have had a white man come to my website and tell me that my life doesn't matter. Let me tell you how that came from.
Whoa.
Because of these arguments. So this isn't, I feel it's racist. I was a federal guard, armed, worked Fort Hood, gun, whole nine, right? There was the gentleman, Mr., I don't know what his name,
Don
Dorn,
David Dorn.
David Dorn,
Oh, right.
gets killed,
Right.
protecting
Right.
the black
His
man.
friends.
Right, right,
The black man
business.
shoots him. I believe it was a black man that shot
St.
him.
Louis.
Right.
I believe. So that happens, right? We're talking about, well, doesn't his life matter? I put in a post, well, he's black, doesn't his life matter? And people were like, I had a white man tell me, no, it doesn't, because he's a race traitor.
He's a
So-
what? A race?
Oh,
A
I
race
get it.
traitor.
So I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I reposted on my page. He comes on my page. We start discussing. He says he can say it because his black friends in Atlanta said it first. That's the equivalent of white people saying, I can say the N-word because my black friends let me say it. Stupid. Right. And so I want to be clear here. And if anybody is in any other news organization and you chop any of this stuff up without context, your organization is trash. So there is a man on my page.
He's on a roll now.
Who comes on my page and he tells me, and I'm like, I was a federal guard. So you're saying that my life doesn't matter because I chose to protect the soldiers. So it's okay for a white or a black man to kill me. When you make a statement like that, black lives don't matter to you.
Nope.
The black lives that you like, that agree with you, matter to you. I'm not saying that man is a representative of Antifa or Black Lives Matter. I'm just saying that conversation is happening because of what's happening. That man thinks he's an ally.
Yep.
He thinks he's standing for my rights
There are people,
while telling me that my life doesn't matter and it's okay if someone smokes me, assassinates me.
that it's okay to burn people's property down, that it's okay to break into their places, that it's okay to steal stuff.
Even
that they're
black
justifying, again, what do you really think about black people if you think that them stealing, arson, and all that other stuff is appropriate reaction? That is a good thing. What do you actually think about black people?
You know, here's the question. What would Chadwick Boseman do? Chapman? With Black Panther?
Right.
Is that the answer?
Oh
is that
my
the message
God.
you got from the movie? And there's a joke to that. The reason I say that is because that's one of the first black people that people can think of that inspires hope in them.
Yeah.
Which is so sad, by the way. Just want to point that
Right.
why
There's a
that-
few others I'd point to first.
I would hope so, but
Yeah.
that's the guy that got people teary-eyed, which Chad was a good man, but the fact that Black Panther is one of these symbols of black excellence that we point to, that is interesting to me. That's all I'll say. It's interesting. It means we should do some different things in history class.
Right.
This goes along with the black people having pride because we're not being taught history of black excellence before slavery and the things we did after slavery.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on something very quick. One of the rooms I rent in Austin is in a commercial building run by a Mexican and a Korean family, and they teach children Taekwondo. It's a dojang, Korean for dojo. So when people talk about looting and burning and rioting, I look at it from, again, personal perspective. This is a commercial building. If you came through this city right now and you thought because it was a commercial building was okay, you can't tell I'm at home. If you threw a Molotov cocktail in here, you might catch children on fire, you might set me on fire and burn down another ethnic business, and you might burn down my black business. Let me be clear here. If you did that, we're gonna have an interesting exchange of munitions.
Yeah.
So that's when you talk about BLM, I don't care what you are, Proud Boy, KKK, BLM, Antifa, burning down other people's stuff, setting fire to other people's stuff. I'm not really with that, especially because it's disproportionately hurting the people that you say you're protecting.
supposedly care
and when you
about.
do it in a city, and the city is run by all these white people or whoever has their businesses here, and then you burn their stores down with all this violence, and then they pull out, and then there's no stores there, and you haven't taught the kids to be entrepreneurs, there's no businesses there, which means there's no jobs there, which
and then
further
you
creates the
perpetuate
cycle of
hopelessness
nonsense.
and everything falls more
This
apart.
is why we have to get to the base root reasons for these issues. Is it unemployment? Is it fatherlessness, etc.? Do some research. Do some test runs in some different areas. Track the metrics.
Measure it.
Measure.
Measure.
And then
Measure.
do it
Measure.
everywhere. That's how we do it. You can't just go react off emotion
But no,
and think
but
it's
yes,
gonna
we
fix
can
things.
because that's what people do. Because nobody actually wants to do the hard work that's required to do anything. People would rather just pay some
Right. I
money,
agree with that.
complain, and make somebody else responsible for it.
Get up off your butt. Could that be a hashtag?
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's it.
it
Get
should
up off
be.
your butt.
I think black excellence, I don't know how people describe it, but for me, black excellence is 360 degrees of excellence. Now, I'm in an interracial relationship. I'll still support black business as much as I can. I have a primarily black-owned business. My second business, Austin Action Fest. 2 of my lead executives are black women. You know what I did? I didn't talk about it. I started businesses and I put black people in those businesses in positions of power. So here's the other thing. If corporate America is so racist, shouldn't we have more black businesses? So where in any of these plans to help black people get out of the situation we're in, are we advancing STEM areas where black people can choose to excel at or take over and represent themselves disproportionately? Where are we talking about black
The
business
opportunity
ownership?
zones.
Creating,
Right.
why are we not doing those things? If you say it's so racist, we can argue with racist people to not be racist, or we can run things, and because we're black, we won't be racist
Yeah,
about black
why would
people.
you sit around and beg people
I can't
to
understand
like
that.
you or give you what
Yeah.
you think you want? Why wouldn't
me
you
my
just go
house.
do it yourself?
They wanted
both.
people to leave their
And this
house
is
to give it to them. Are
one-
you
I
serious?
love
This
that.
is
I've
what
been working.
Wait, I love
but
that.
do you?
No. I love this stuff.
Oh my
because I'm kind of rude sometimes. I love when things go bad for people and then you see the result. I love when mayors and people will say,
Right.
yeah, it's fine to protest. And then all of a sudden, the people
Was
protest
their
their
house.
His house.
And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, get the security here. No, where are those
Exactly.
cops at? Where are those
Yeah,
cops
right.
at? And you know, I'm going to move because this is unreasonable. I love it because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, it has to go bad for them to listen.
Right, exactly. It's got to be, well, they've got to face it, right, face to face.
Yep.
When it hits them, all of a sudden, we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because I love, get out
Ooh,
of your
that
house,
rooster.
it's for us. Really?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I worked hard.
And if you told her that, so
Yeah, right, which one?
So am
What's it?
I supposed to give up the house too? Like, what do we?
Right, right. She
You know how
has to
many
give it to
interracial
you.
couples there
Yeah.
are? You know how many interracial couples there
Yep.
are?
Right.
It's fun times.
It's wild. People,
just-
you know that they don't really have. When I say they, like a lot of these protesters, they don't really have a solid foundation.
No, they don't
Because when
know.
you pose these questions to them, when you ask them for their reasons, when you point out the logical fallacies in
Mm-hmm.
their argument, they have no comeback.
Exactly.
It
And for the record,
is a
I went
group
to
of-
a protest. Just for the, I went to a
Oh,
protest in
I've been
Austin.
in several protests.
I walked when the George Floyd thing happened. I thought there needed to be some reform there because the way those things happen. I do think cops need to be retrained. But I went to the protest during a specific time of day because I knew it was getting violent later
Day.
at night. I had weapons on me for cops and or protesters that got out of line because I knew it was a potential to go both ways. But I went. I picked where I went on purpose.
right.
But so we're not talking from people who are not standing with the people who have proper reasons to
We
fight in
know.
protest. We get
We
it.
get-
It's not fair. I got you.
You know what the difference is? Every protest I was in, we all sang. We were so busy singing
Yeah.
that we didn't have time to destroy
you didn't have
anything.
time to swear at people and
Exactly.
I'm
vandalize
not going out at
things
night.
and burn
I'm
it
not going out at
down.
night.
Yeah.
And the protests, they were praying, people were chanting. Cops didn't do anything. It was fun.
Right.
Nobody threw anything. Cops didn't react. People didn't react. It was great.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. First
Right,
Amendment. First
exactly.
Amendment.
Yep.
It's
Amazing.
America, baby.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
But these kids, the kids that were at the State House, I mean, Guy asked me to speak. Thank you. And I was just supposed to read a letter, and the louder they chanted, the louder I got. But
Got it.
I like you did, I looked at how do I get out of here? Where do I run? What if somebody throws something at me? I mean, they were out of control.
And here's the thing, Pat. A couple things. We all agree that there are still areas of life that black people are not treated fairly, that they are not given a
totally
fair
agree.
shake.
Film
right?
industry.
Oh, really?
We
Well, they don't-
yes, we experienced first. There was a stretch that the only
watch the
roles
time.
he got sent were thug number 1
Oh.
and drug dealer number 2.
Right. From the hood.
For real. And I said to him after a little while, I said, I really don't want you to even, I really don't even want you to submit for these roles. You know, this is just perpetuating the
Right.
narrative that
You'll never
black
get
people
out
are
of
just
it
a bunch
either.
of thugs.
Once you do that.
This is all
Right?
we are.
Yeah.
So we get there are legitimate problems in this country. But if we're not talking about what the real problems are, again, digging into the root of the problem, what is it that, like, the only people who have treated us badly for being an interracial couple are not white people.
Well,
Yeah.
I actually, yep,
Yeah.
I understand that.
You know, it like I can't tell you how
it's
many
true.
dirty looks and you know,
Interesting Facebook conversations.
Well, you took away a valuable asset of the black
Yes.
community.
yes, I'm
And,
a
you know,
terrible person.
And I get it. My mom wanted me to marry a black woman. I married who loved me and supported me, and like I didn't pick based on color.
You only had one other girl, you just said that before. You
Exactly. But I didn't pick.
I just want to cover
But I
your
didn't,
bases
thank
here.
you. But I didn't
Only
pick
held
based
her
on color. I dated 2 women.
Only.
And I didn't pick based on color. its
Yeah.
own. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
the thing is that we have to talk about what we can do. Like, what do we need to do? What can we do for ourselves? And this goes for every community, every color, every race. We are not dependent on the government.
And that's what, who's responsible? See, that's the question. Who's responsible for fixing it? Like, do you actually think that there's some
No,
government
we are.
program that's going to fix?
Right.
Black Wall Street, and there were black millionaires after. There's a book called like Black Fortunes. It's talking about
Really?
the first six
Yeah.
black millionaires right after slavery. So
Yep.
clearly, I'm going to guess it was the most racist time in our history, right? So millionaires who were made during that period of time.
That's
You know
right.
what they did? Land, owned businesses, entrepreneurs, invested in stocks, etc. That's what they did. Black Wall Street. That was not white people saving us. Like, I don't know how you can tell me that white people are the problem and the white savior. So literally, we can do a lot of this stuff ourselves, and we need to do it in conjunction with looking for the proper legislation to facilitate growth, because pretty much anything that will help black people who are poor will help anyone.
I think you said something before about having pride. And I
critical.
think that having pride in who you are and where you came from. I mean, I just think they should have pride in who they are and
Yeah.
just head into a crowd and say, I'm here, I'm black, and there you go.
Proud of you, man,
Everybody.
woman.
Yeah, everybody, for
American.
sure. Me too.
Have tremendous amounts of pride in all
Right.
in all these things. And I think one of the things we talk about black fathers is, I have a theory, don't know if it's true. I think from mom we typically get unconditional love. And I think from dad we typically get drive purpose, because
Yes.
men are typically task oriented, typically, meaning I'm going to honor and respect what you do. And I think that a lot of what we're missing is people aren't being called to be more than they are. I was always taught it was my job to push my family forward the next
I
block.
hate to
Yep.
tell you, that's everywhere. Our kids are not being brought up like that, for sure. I mean, what they're learning these days in school scare you to death.
Yeah.
Speaking of kids.
I mean, they're fighting. They're fighting parents watching the Zoom the Zoom lessons with the
That's
teacher and the
crazy.
kids.
I'm saying, speaking of kids, okay, I'm going to get a little personal. You guys have any thoughts about that?
We've thought about it. Honestly, looking at the world, really, man, should we?
You'd be
That's
awesome
not
parents.
it. Yes,
Come on.
Actually, no,
We did
I
think about
said,
it.
for the record, I said we should.
They'd be awesome.
We have a responsibility
You seen
to
Set an
have
example.
have,
children.
you seen 300, the movie 300?
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's why I want a kid.
I don't
No,
even know
you
what
have
that
to.
means
Your,
because I
your
haven't seen
ideal
it.
parents, you have to have children.
Well, and
So
but that's
you can be the example.
it is. I may likely be outside of childbearing age,
No.
do it
so we're working on it right
So,
now.
Good
My
job.
late wife and I adopted two kids from Philadelphia,
Yeah,
and she couldn't have kids.
Yeah.
And we're
That's
glad we
what I-
did.
that's what we've
Yeah.
said.
We talked about
That if it doesn't work out, that we want to adopt or foster or
Yeah.
do something
'Cause I
like
think,
that.
just talking to you, you guys would be awesome parents.
Yeah, for sure.
thank you.
And cute kids, I might add.
Well,
Everybody says that. I
Yeah.
said they'll all have, because the green eyes run in my family pretty strong, so they'll have the nice dark skin and green
Very
eyes.
nice, very nice.
And they'll be super talented and athletic and smart and
Hopefully.
handsome.
That's the plan.
Benjamin Nathaniel Reddick III,
Third.
Oh,
even if it's a
shoot.
girl.
Anyway, folks, we'll work on that one. We have run out of time, sadly. This is just, first of all, I've learned something, and that's a very good thing. So thank you both very much.
Thank you, Pat.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you, Guy, for helping out, and thank you for listening in. We'll see you next week, and in the meantime, keep listening beyond the sound bites.